Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Raising Cane's studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Hour 2, Thursday edition Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef, working towards the weekend. Appreciate you hanging out with us here at 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers in 15 minutes. Luke Johnson with us in half an hour talking Saints. So lots to do here over the course of my final hour of the week on air. Taylor Sharp in for me tomorrow. We hit the bye week for LSU. Saints and Giants coming up on Sunday. I talked about the Saints in hour number 1, gave my pick for Saints and Giants. I took the Saints. We'll see if that ends up backfiring. Most of my picks do. We'll see how that all shakes out. I wanted to briefly talk about this new development today. Dan Murphy with ESPN reporting some changes on the NIL front for collegiate athletics. I'll just read the tweet verbatim and kind of give my thoughts on it. Dan writes, per sources, NCAA's Division I Board of Directors adopted a couple of new NIL rule changes today. 1, schools can no longer guarantee a player any money from a third-party NIL deal verbally or in writing. And 2, all collective/booster deals must include a specific direct activation. Both of these rules give a little bit more backing to the CSC's efforts to adapt to some of the ways collectives are paying to get more money to players in the above-the-cap payments. In the first case, some schools signed deals with their athletes that promised to cover full cost of an NIL deal if a collective wasn't able to pay its bills. For schools that signed those types of deals prior to July 1st, that money will now count against their spending cap. The second rules address warehousing, where a collective pays for a player's NIL rights with a promise to use them later, but no specific endorsement in mind. That makes it hard for the CSC to access the market value of the deal. That's a lot of language. Here's my thought on it, kind of in a nutshell. To go back to the beginning, we opened up Pandora's box here and said, hey, college athletes can get paid. Y'all go get some. And a lot of schools said, yeah, we're going to get involved in this. This is going to be great. And then all these boosters got involved and said, wait, we can pay all these guys no matter what. And we're like, all right, well, I got businesses. I got oil money. I got tech money. I got whatever money. Like, hey, all right, let's start signing checks. $1 million here, $2 million here. I need a softball pitcher. I need a quarterback. I need a point guard. I need a shooting guard. Just signing stuff everywhere. And the coaches had lost control, and they were paranoid about what was going on. And some said, we don't want to play by the rules. And some said, well, these are the new rules. We're going to play by that, and we're going to get players. And it was chaos, absolute chaos for a couple of years. And then everyone in the NCAA kind of looked around and went, well, this is not good. We probably need to put some rules in place here or something. And so now, over the last 2.5 years, you've seen the NCAA try to throw guardrails around a stampede, right? That doesn't happen. And it hasn't happened to this point. But they're trying. They're making an attempt. So this is an effort here to go, okay, schools, as I read at the top of the tweet, schools can no longer guarantee a player any money from a third party or NIL deal verbally or in writing. Okay, great luck to you, NCAA, determining who's promising verbally the NIL deals that could come their way. You don't have to put them in writing anymore. That's an easy one to get around. Just don't put it in writing. But there are literally departments on these campuses of these big-time athletic programs that are designed to match businesses with players to create endorsement deals. You've got schools partnering with Playfly, who is in charge of negotiating deals and increasing brand exposure to get the athletes paid to create endorsements. There are partnerships and departments. This is their literal functionality. And now you're saying, well, we can't guarantee that. Well, can you guarantee that you have the department that's going to get out there and make it happen for you? Or you just can't say, hey, we're going to get you $100,000. We'll say, hey, we've got a department that's ready to help you create brand awareness and facilitate deals? Or can you not say that? This seems silly to me. Then you've got the activation period, which suggests you can't say, hey, Joe, high school athlete, Joe, transfer portal athlete, you're coming to Florida. We've got a collective and we've got a partner that's going to help get you this NIL deal. And generally speaking, we get a lot of our players like $400,000. And even if we can't get that, immediately from a third party, we'll make sure it's good for you. We've got it ready. I mean, these rules seem to be very, very difficult to enforce. When did you promise that the money was going to come from? Who's it coming from? And then you've got the clearinghouse that's supposed to be able to determine whether or not it's fair market value. And then you've got people who are suggesting that trying to get deals through the clearinghouse is taking forever. So they're just going to circumvent it. And the entire thing has seemed to be grasping at straws from the very beginning because there was no planning for this, no preparation. And then you got into the wild, wild west and all the players went absolutely nuts and all the coaches kind of stood around and went, huh? And so more so to me than actually paying attention to what these rules are going to do and determining who's following them and who's not and who's cheat. I don't know what all is going on out there in the world every single day, but I do get some enjoyment and just a chuckle here and there out of the NCAA attempting to close Pandora's box. That baby is open and ripping. And I've gone out and said this many, many times. I have just so zero problem with Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman Trophy, walking off the stage, grabbing a box of chicken, and making a social media post and getting paid from that. That's a huge brand exposure deal. He's a monster name. It's a legitimate brand that is partnered with him to make something happen that benefits both of them. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I was always skeptical of the determination of, well, we're going to let college athletes be paid, but oh, by the way, you can't use this for recruitment. Oh, really? It's literally the only thing that boosters care about. That's it. It's about the clout that comes with it and winning football games and winning basketball games. And in some few cases, winning baseball games or softball games. That's it. And it was always going to be used specifically for that purpose. And so everybody kind of got caught up to how you're supposed to play this thing. And then they changed the rules again. And guess what? They're going to change these rules and put these rules in place. And then in 6 months, everybody's going to look up and there's going to be another academic year in the books. They're going to go, well, this is no good. We got to change this because it's chaos. And I think it comes from a decent place, but the attempt to legislate this without the rules that professional sports have in place are ludicrous. Because unless you're the Clippers, advertising dollars don't help anybody win. And nobody really cares how much these players get paid for their pocketbooks. They only care how much they get paid to play a certain place and win. And that is what the salary's for in the professional ranks. The owners pay the players the salary so they can win. Whatever comes from endorsements, from Instagram posts and commercials and paid appearances and all that kind of stuff, book signings and whatever, that's just money. But we're talking about bringing the money into the competition in collegiate sports, and that's where you're 10 miles behind professional sports. Because professional sports found a way to legislate the money in, and the NCAA can't find a way to legislate the money in because they're sticking to amateurism when these folks are not getting paid for their name, image, and likeness because it's a brand awareness in the vast majority of situations. They're getting paid to play for the team. You came out and said, we're trying to make sure this isn't pay for play. It's all pay for play. That's all it is. So it has to turn into the professional model where they literally get paid to play. That's where this has to go to make me stop laughing every time the NCAA comes up with one of these things. Well, you can't promise anything verbally that's going to happen the next 4 years. You can't promise that. Oh, really? Who's going to enforce that? Unless the FBI gets involved and starts tapping phones. How many teams did that affect? Like one? Then you can't enforce that. And that's all that's going to happen. Now that this has been going on for a few years, and I've run across some coaches in my day, I've asked some coaches, like, how quick does money come up in these recruiting conversations? The general consensus is that with high school juniors a little bit less, with high school seniors a little bit more towards the end, with the portal right out front. Like, those kids now have created a market for themselves, and they know, and they're capitalizing on what could be the end of their earning. I do believe there are some high schoolers that, yeah, we're getting some money, but we're going to position ourselves a little bit better as well. But then the portal, and look, they ask about money. I'm not suggesting it doesn't matter. It certainly matters a lot. And then y'all are going to throw Bryce Underwood back in my face and go, what about that? Well, that case doesn't happen very much. I can make a case for everything that's happened. I'm sure there are folks that have taken the 10th biggest NIL offer that they got. Underwood just didn't have to be in that case. But to get back from my diatribe here, like, this is such a ridiculous system to try to enforce. And it makes me laugh when they try to say, oh, well, we got this figured out. Got them. No, you didn't. You didn't get anything. They're just going to continue running out in the wild, wild west. Until you start operating like professional sports with how the money is doled out, then you just got chaos. And every time I read something like this, I'm reinforcing that and I chuckle at it. That's my thoughts on the newest NIL rules and regulations around the NCAA. All right, when we come back, Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Storm season, big deal. You got to be sure your property policy is in place. No storms currently brewing in the Gulf. We never know when the next one could be, but move into October. Glad it's been quiet to this point, but is your property policy written properly? Because you don't know when that storm's coming. You don't know when that commercial car accident's going to happen. You don't know when you might have a breach in terms of cyber because one of your employees clicked something he or she was not supposed to click, and now your entire network is compromised. How much does that cost? Do you have to monitor your system or pay fines because you weren't secure? Whose credit card information has been breached? Like, do you have to run credit checking on dozens or thousands of people? Like, that costs money, and that's what cyber insurance is for. EPL insurance deals with the hiring and firing and employment practices. Do you know if all of that is written properly for your business's insurance? If you don't, the Howard Insurance Group wants to audit your policy for free and make sure that it's all written to code. That's what they want to do. They want to make sure that their clients are properly insured. It's not all about money. Money is important. Premium is always in consideration. That's why they shop your policy with the dozens of carriers that they've got contracts with, and they make sure that you're paying the right amount. But they also make sure that you're covered for when that storm comes, when that car accident happens, when the lawsuit comes down, when the cyber breach happens, your company is taken care of. It's the Howard Insurance Group. Contact Jonathan Carbo and the team over there at the Howard Insurance Group. They're here in Baton Rouge. They can help you out statewide. And they're, of course, online at HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
When people are buying beef, they think of two things. How does it taste? And where does it come from? What does it cost as well? I promise you this, at Sagrera Farms, you're going to get some of the most tender, flavorful beef you have ever had. It's prime every time at Sagrera Farms. I can promise you, you know where it comes from. It comes from the farm right here in Baton Rouge. It comes from the farm. No steroids, no improper use of antibiotics. You don't have to ask any questions. You also don't have to ask how many DNA are in that beef that we just bought. It's just one. It's the cow that you bought from right there at Sagrera Farms. And what does it cost? They haven't increased prices since they started doing this, and they don't have any interest in doing that moving forward. Can you say the same about where you're buying your beef? Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef, top 1% of beef nationwide. It's right here just outside of Baton Rouge at Sagrera Farms. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, with us on Thursdays, joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how are you?
Doing good. Enjoying the off week. Missing a little bit of football, but it'll be here back before we know it.
It sure will, and I've got baseball to tide me over, hopefully for a little bit longer. I know your Dodgers got it done late night last night, but I got the Padres on my hands at this afternoon. Let's talk about the LSU defense first. Your impressions of their effort on Saturday in Oxford.
I think they were out there a little bit too long. In the first half, I know the time of possession kind of evened up as the game went on, but in the first half, the inability of LSU's offense to really do much of anything, move chains, get in scoring position, again, had them out there quite a bit. I didn't think it was by far their best game. A couple of times they were out of position, probably a few more missed tackles than I think we'd seen through the first 4 weeks. And again, I don't think anybody would tell you in that defensive room or rooms that was their best effort. So again, I think they could have played a lot better, but I don't think their offense helped them out too much, especially in the first half. And again, I look back at the game, having watched it again, having seen it with my own eyes, not the best football game to watch. I don't know how many people would argue with me that was an exciting football game. It was ugly. It was penalty-ridden. Both teams played sloppy. I would argue that there really wasn't a whole lot of great offense outside of a couple of plays here and there, really, for both teams. I don't know how much to make of it moving forward, other than I still believe, as I told you, I think 3 weeks ago, I think I told you this 2 weeks ago, I mean, as you get deeper into the season, 20 points a game, just not going to cut it.
Correct, and there's issues with the passing game and the running game, and Brian Kelly kind of talked about it. He talked yesterday to the media, said, look, we've got to focus on the running game. We've got to get that better, but we've got to get our passing game humming at an elite level like it was last year, and they just haven't found that just yet. What do you see with your eyes when you watch?
It's interesting because I would have said the same thing, which is, again, you don't want to be one-dimensional, but at least last year that one dimension seemed to be clicking, and it kept you in a lot of games and won you a bunch of games, to be honest with you. And for some reason, even though we kind of knew the running game going into the season wasn't going to be a world beater, we hoped it would get better each and every week. And maybe slightly up until this past week, it had been getting a little bit better, again, using a number of different ways to run the ball. That includes the short passing game. But the fact that you're not able to get separation by your receivers, I don't know that there was a ton of duress throughout that Ole Miss game. Again, I know much has been made of the fact that there were a lot of three-man rush, but the pocket was fairly clean. So again, I'm not one that typically puts all the blame on either one player or one position group. It's kind of a calamity of all things. I mean, when you again go back and watch the film, there are times when the pocket holds, maybe even Garrett extended the pocket one way or the other, and moved it a little bit. And then you look downfield and there's really not a whole lot of options. Or we've seen a lot of two guys in the same vicinity. I go back to the one touchdown pass on the tip drill. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of separation between Nick Anderson and Trey'Dez Green. Luckily for LSU, there wasn't a whole lot of defenders over there in the corner of the end zone. So I'm not quite sure, you can simply take a magic wand and say, okay, fix this one thing, and suddenly the offense is going to open up. The one thing I will say, I think there's plenty of blame to go around as to why they're not clicking both running the ball and, frankly, passing the ball.
It's tough, and they just haven't played well enough. I think everyone is aware of that. It's not a secret at all. But I do take some solace in the fact that you're talking about a 4,000-yard passer. You're talking about wide receivers and a tight end that have been productive in their time. LSU was the best team in the conference last year on third down because of all that. I take solace in the fact that can return. It's just a matter of getting there, and maybe this bye week comes at a time where they can get a little bit healthier and figure something out.
No, I agree with you. I mean, that's kind of what I've said all week to people who've asked me about, what's the status of the team. I said, well, the status of the team is they're 4-1, and they're 1-1 in the SEC. And now over the next month and a half, 2 months, there's an opportunity to pick up SEC wins every week. The other fact of the matter is this is a team that the players that are involved, we've seen do really good things. Maybe not as consistent week to week as we'd like to see, but as you point out, if you look back to last year, again, it's an offense that produced 5,000 yards and 47 touchdowns, and a number of those guys are back. And I would also argue that you've added some guys out of the portal that make you even better at certain positions. And then, frankly, defensively, yeah, you lose the game, you miss more tackles than you had in the previous 4 weeks, but you still held an Ole Miss team that was averaging 45 points a game to not even half their average. So it's not as if the sky is falling. Obviously, I think a lot of people feel like this first of the bye week comes at a good time. And I think more so for LSU. And I don't think it's about rest, although I know there's some guys who need some recovery. I think it's just about cleaning things up and getting a little more attention to detail to the execution, because even when the plays are right and even when they've had the number of the defense, it's just been off a little bit here or there. And that makes the difference when you have a small margin of error against teams that are ranked like Ole Miss. And a South Carolina team who's unranked, who I know a lot of people feel like, well, maybe they're not as good as we thought they would preseason, but they're playing, and they're playing for a reason. And so, again, I just think the execution has to be better. And because we've seen these guys execute, whether it be at LSU or at their other schools, we know it's possible. So can it all be fixed in 2 weeks? I don't know. Can it get a lot better? I certainly think so.
Did you see a little burst from Harlem Berry in the fourth quarter on Saturday?
Yeah, I was impressed. I mean, that was, again, it was kind of lost in the game itself, but I kind of, even Jacob and I kind of touched on it during timeouts. It was like, let's see if we can feed the guy. He looks to have a little bounce. He looks to be a little more physical, and that's kind of what we're lacking. I mean, it's kind of as if, again, with Caden Durham being out, I know they were limited, but it's almost like they have these gadget backs as opposed to a traditional SEC running back that, when the iron's hot, you can continue going to him. I don't know if it was a little too late in that game, but it was exciting to see. And again, I hate to be the guy that keeps talking about the future because we all know we live in a microwave society, but I think you probably get pretty excited about what you saw, albeit in a loss, that you got a true freshman that's starting to, at least at times, look like your everyday and every down back.
I realize this is not exactly your corner of the store, but what do you think about Ole Miss? You think that's a really good team that LSU went on the road and played, or how do you kind of feel about them watching them and then seeing it on tape?
No, it's funny. I actually told my son this because he asked me the very same thing on the flight back, and I said, I don't think they're as good as they were last year. And I really mean that. I mean, I think defensively they got a lot of issues. And it was unfortunate LSU could not make them pay when they had the numbers. I think they're going to struggle as they play better teams too. Again, they can hit plays, but I'm not convinced their running attack is as good as it was a year ago. I know that they're third or fourth in the SEC, but based on the strength of schedule they played so far, I just think they were a better team last year altogether. I think their defense was better. I think they were able to really disrupt things at times with their front seven defensively. I don't see that this year. But again, Lane Kiffin's calling plays, and again, they're going to score points. I just don't know. I think they're going to have to outscore everybody they play. Let me put it that way.
We shall see there in Oxford. I'm assuming week off for the Brian Kelly Show tonight, back in action next week. Is that right?
That's right. We're back next Thursday.
All right. Well, we'll talk then. Getting ready for LSU and South Carolina in Tiger Stadium. Have a good weekend, Chris.
You got it, too. Go Dodgers.
That's Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, noted Dodger fan. They got by the Reds late last night, which I appreciated because it allowed the Cubs to move back to 4 o'clock first pitch, and I can get home for 4 o'clock. Got a jet out of the studio, go get the little guy, and then head home. I should be on the couch for the first pitch of Cubs and Padres this afternoon, and that would not have been possible if the Dodgers had lost last night, because then the Cubs would have played at 2:08 like they had the last couple of days, and that's just quite frankly not very convenient for me. So I'm glad that happened last night. See if the Cubs can get it done. I'm very hopeful. A little nervous. Hadn't been in this situation in a long time, but we'll see. Let's talk Saints. Luke Johnson next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef, top beef in the country, right here, just outside Baton Rouge. Don't believe me? Well, it's fact, because they've got scores for these cows. And you realize that you look at select beef, that's 0 to 3 on the IMF scale. It's intramuscular fat. You talk about the select, which is about 60% of what you see out there. That's somewhere between 3 and 8 on that scale. Prime, which is what you get at the best steakhouses, the best grade of beef prime, that starts at 8 or 9. There are cows on the farm at Sagrera Farms right now, 12, 14, 17, 19. Better than double the standard for prime at Sagrera Farms. So the question is, how quickly can you get there? Because Sean has got some beef there for you. If you want a whole cow, want a side, want a quarter, they can make it happen for you. All you got to do is call them. I'm going to give you a cell phone number at the end of this read. But if you're looking for fillets, ribeyes, ground beef, chuck, skirt, all those to put in those freezer for the fall to come, and you want prime beef that's tender and flavorful, has amazing marbling, Sagrera Farms has got that for you. Give Sean a call. Of course, it's 225-719-1723. 719-1723. Get your hands on some of that beef. It's Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Saints, their guy Luke Johnson from NOLA.com and The Advocate. Good enough to give us some time on some Thursdays. Luke, how are we doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
It is our pleasure. Competitive in Buffalo. What was your main takeaway from yet another loss?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's obviously good for this team to go up to like a difficult place to play against one of the premier teams in the NFL and to really be in a position to win the game or take the lead in the fourth quarter. Like that's a good sign. That's like the stuff we want to see out of Kellen Moore. But like, at some point, like you kind of want to see them take the next step and go from being competitive to winning these games. I don't know if we're going to see that this year. Yeah. But like, this is like what we're kind of waiting on seeing. So like, there are some things that you're really encouraged by. Their running game looks really, really good. They made some changes to it. I just posted a story recently. They had a season high usage in pre-snap motion. They had a season high under center rate. They started doing some more outside zone stuff, which obviously they did a lot more of last year. And it turned into 189 rushing yards. Like that's good. Spencer Rattler was really good as a scrambler, and he did his thing where he was operating the offense the way you wanted to see it, but like still missing some kind of important throws. The one to Brandon Cooks really stands out in the end zone. There was a 3rd and 10 late in the game where Rashid Shaheed was kind of like wide open on a mesh concept, and the throw was behind, and Shaheed had to slow down, and he wasn't able to get to the sticks, and then they turned it over on downs on the next play. So there's just like a lot of like small stuff like that could be, it could play a really big role in these types of games. Like they need to find a way to make those plays happen.
As far as the defense goes and young players, I think Jonas Sanker's the guy that kind of stands out. Is he the story from you from last week?
Yeah, I was really impressed by him. Look, he like had the missed tackle on the very first touchdown of the game, the Khalil Shakir touchdown, which like I don't necessarily hold that against him too much. Shakir was spinning out of a tackle, kind of changed his angle. Like, you want him to make the play, but that's not like an egregious one. I think he's been pretty good as in run support over his first couple starts. But like the stuff in the passing game was really, really good. I mean, he completely erased a couple like downfield shots at Dalton Kincaid, who's a pretty good receiving tight end. He made up a ton of ground to pick off that Josh Allen pass on like that kind of sideline deep shot. First pick of the year for the Saints, first pick of the year that Josh Allen's thrown. I mean, like that stuff is really encouraging because he kind of came in with a reputation as a guy who's kind of a thumper in the run game and kind of to be determined on coverage stuff. And for him to show that side of his game in Buffalo is, I think, a really, really nice step for the Saints. And it's just good to know that he can do that.
Let's move to this game with the Giants on Sunday. I highlighted the Giants' defensive front in my first segment today. I felt that's the key to the game against a banged-up Saints offensive line. What can you tell us about the Saints offensive line, where that thing might stand on Sunday?
Well, I think the good news is Trevor Penning was back out there at practice today. I mean, that's huge for them because it's one thing to be down one guard. I mean, they've been down one guard like this entire season, but to be without two starters there, going up against the Giants front that, like as you said, is just it's really, really, really talented. Dexter Lawrence is one of the best defensive tackles in football. You got 2 top 5 picks in Kayvon Thibodeau and Abdul Carter out there. You've got Brian Burns, who's leading the NFL in sacks. Like, you don't want to be down offensive linemen against this group. But like at the same time, you got to see what Tali Fuaga and Kelvin Banks can do in this type of game. I think Fuaga is still not at 100%. He's still just kind of not playing at the level we expect out of him. Kelvin Banks has been really good, but like this is going to be one of his biggest tests of the season. So I think that you're spot on that. That's like the key to this game. But like as good as those guys are, the Giants have like really not had a very good start to the season defensively. They're giving up 6.1 yards per carry. It's the second worst mark in the NFL. I think they got like the number 29 total defense, number 23 scoring defense. Like they're gettable, but they also are just coming off a week where they pressured Justin Herbert on 50% of his dropbacks and forced him into the worst game of his season. So I think we're just going to have to wait and see how that looks on Sunday.
And to feel like a heavy workload day for Alvin Kamara and for Kendre Miller?
I mean, I think it should be, as long as they're in like something close to a neutral or positive game script. I mean, when you look at their 2 best offensive performances of the season, it was Buffalo and San Francisco, and those are 2 games where they got the running game going. So I thought it was really good to see Kendre Miller just like kind of have a breakout game last week. That should be their formula. Like they should be trying to get, have Alvin get 60% of the touches and have Kendre get 35, something like that, and then the rest goes to whoever else is part of the run game, whether it's the jet sweeps to Shaheed or Spencer Rattler on scrambles. But like they should be like that should kind of be where they're at. And those two I think complement each other really well. I think the strength of this offensive line is its run blocking. So as long as they can avoid getting into a big hole against the Giants, which you should expect them to avoid that, then I totally expect a big, heavy workload for those guys.
Is there a lot on the line for Spencer Rattler the next 3 days, the next 2 weeks?
I mean, I think so. I think he's played well enough right now where you haven't had a whole lot of questions about Tyler Shuck and whether it's time to turn to him. But we're kind of getting to that point.
Yeah.
These first 4 games of the year, they were against really good opponents. Yeah. All games you can kind of chalk up as if the Saints win that, it's a surprise. It's changing now. Like the Saints are favored for the first time all season. If you can't get it done in this sort of scenario, I think the questions are going to start to get louder, and maybe the Saints might make a change. He's played pretty well, but the fact of the matter is that they are 0-4, and they have a second-round quarterback. They might be in the quarterback market next year. They have to see at some point this season what Tyler Shuck can do. It really just feels like a matter of time unless Spencer really takes his game to another level and makes it a question that they just can't. They can't bring themselves to put him in the lineup, if that makes any sense. But I think they got to be getting close to that point, though.
In the same way, but very much lesser because of the contract and the fact that you don't have a backup coach. How big is the deal over the next 2 weeks for Kellen Moore, do you think, with what feels like a couple of fair fights?
Yeah, I think the narrative around him is just gonna it's gonna take the entire season to develop. I think they've got. Look, they've been more competitive in these games than a lot of people thought they would be, with the exception of the Seattle game, which was just like a total anomaly, I think. He could win, 3 or 4 games this year, but if they're like competitive in all these games, and there's some optimism on the horizon with like, hey, we get some better players in here, you could see an avenue for it to get better, then you feel good about it. Dan Campbell, I think had a terrible first year, but they were really competitive. You could see the building blocks and how that could end up turning out. So if they lose this game, I don't think I'll feel any different about Kellen Moore unless they lose this game and they get blown out, and then they get blown out next week against New England, and you start to see less of the positive signs that we've seen in the first 4 weeks. Then maybe I start to feel a little bit different. But I think as long as they show that they've got a competent coaching staff who's getting the most out of its players and getting these guys to play hard, even though they are not on track for a winning season right now, I think that's all we need to see out of Kellen Moore this year. And you see what he can do after you get a chance to really build out the roster and his vision.
You can check out his work at by Luke Johnson, NOLA.com, and The Advocate. He's with us every single Thursday. He is Luke Johnson. Thanks, man.
My pleasure, man. See you.
Sure will. Luke will be in the Dome on Sunday, Saints and Giants, noon, in a game that earlier this show, I picked the Saints to win. We'll see if they can get it done against Jackson Dart and this Giants offense. All right, we will take one more time out, come back, and close it out. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Do you hate going to get your oil changed? Do you hate dealing with having to be charged this for maintenance here, and then they want to see your air filter here, and that just gets annoying, right? You don't want to have to deal with that stuff. Well, you don't if you buy a new Genesis. You purchase it, and then for the next 3 years, they come get your car, bring it to Genesis of Baton Rouge. They handle all your maintenance, complimentary, valet. They drive the car back to you. You get on your way. And oh, by the way, while they're taking care of all that, they give you a loaner so you don't miss a beat. It's just about convenience. It's a luxury brand at a reasonable price. Get behind the wheel. You'll see the difference. Most of you have not been behind the wheel of a Genesis car. That's just the odds talking. Change that next time you're in the market. Maybe that's this month, maybe it's next month, maybe it's next year. But when you're in the market for a new vehicle, if you're thinking about a luxury brand of vehicles, think Genesis and go by and see them. You'll be impressed with the facility, the staff, the line of vehicles. And then once you make that purchase, everything that comes with it, from America's Best Warranty to those perks that I just laid out earlier. It's Genesis Baton Rouge. You can find them on Airline at PQ, or you can check out the entire inventory online at GenesisBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
.1045 ESPN Baton Rouge and First American Bank and Trust bring you the monthly Heart of the Game Award, recognizing students who deliver when it counts. Nominate your game day standout at 1045ESPN.com. We'll choose 5 male and 5 female finalists, and then it's up to the fans to vote for the winners. Each winner gets a $250 gift card, a custom award, and the spotlight they've earned. Presented by First American Bank and Trust, a banking tradition since 1910.
Thursday shows brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Give you Sean's cell phone number one more time if you're thinking, I really need to stock my freezer with some of the best beef in America. He's got it right there at Sagrera Farms, 719-1723. Again, 719-1723. That's Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Score update from Cleveland. Game 3 between the Tigers and the Guardians. Nothing. As they play in the early innings. Cubs and Padres, Game 3 to follow, and then Yankees, Red Sox from the Bronx, which should be real spicy tonight. I'm locked in for that one for sure. Hopefully in a very good mood. Potentially in a terrible mood. I'm really not prepared for the Cubs season to end. It happens too quick in this wild card round.
Yeah.
Technically you could be out in 3 games in the DS if you got swept, so that can still happen, but just feels like you go through such a grind from spring training, March and April. The Cubs played in Japan 50 months ago. And now it feels like it could be over in 4 hours.
Well, it used to be just one game, which is even more crazy.
Yeah, the Cubs lost that one once and won that one
Yep.
once. So that, can happen. I'm just hoping for good stuff over the next few hours. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
If you're looking for a cold beer to watch in playoff baseball or celebrate a win or drown your sorrows, either way, Flight by Yingling can make that happen for you. They got the slim cans here, also got bottles available. It is the next generation of light beer. If you're a light beer drinker and you haven't tried Flight by Yingling, I just highly, highly recommend you give it a shot. It's right there on the next shelf over from what you usually pick up. It's the next generation of light beer. 95 calories, 2.6 carbs, all the flavor you're looking for. Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer.
All right, first one here. Hunt, I'm guessing the Shark Dogs have a game on Saturday, but I wanted to get an injury report for Myers. Myers doubtful for the Shark Dogs game on Saturday with the tonsil removal. Take it or leave it.
He would be out, but they got a bye week, so there is no game.
Right.
I don't think he can play next week, though, either. They say the recovery is like a week and a half. Not supposed to overly exert, so
I don't know, Hunt.
I think his season's done.
I think if I know Myers, I think he is going to want to play because it seems like he really likes being on the pitch.
He does, however, he'll be out, is what it appears. I think Mom's calling those shots for the event. She's not like Lane Kiffin with the availability report. She'll just put out. She's no reservations of putting out whatsoever.
That's just a really bad move for the Shark Dogs. I mean, you got to hide that intel from the other teams. I mean, Myers is a key player for the Shark Dogs.
Myers, it was a tough morning for the little guy. Did not really like waking up to having his tonsils burned off his throat. Tough scene. Did not want the ice cream from the hospital. Only wanted the ice cream at home. What a Bluebell snob. But apparently he's had a nap, and I think things are looking a little bit better. But I'll get home and check that out. But I think soccer is done. He's been shut down.
So you only have one game left.
Only one left.
Oh man, I really wanted to go catch one.
Shut down.
Unfortunate. All right, last one. Real quick, Duke is extending their head coach John Shire through the 2030-31 season. Good move by Duke. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'll leave it. It's probably unnecessary to extend his contract at this point. Where's he going? Where's John Shire going to go? Are you going to take the job at Georgia Tech or something? Are you going to head over to LSU? I mean, it's just not. He's not going anywhere. So I feel like you sometimes create a bigger buyout than you need if things go south. I don't have a lot of reason to believe that John Shire is going to have things go south. He's doing a good job of recruiting. They were good last year. I thought it was a bad hire, but that's just. I shouldn't say that. I thought the process that they went by to arrive at the hire was bad. But that's what happens when you got a legendary coach and he says, let that guy coach, and then that guy becomes the coach. It's very much what's happening at Auburn right now, where they are moving on from a coach and they're not planning on hiring a new coach. I just think that's foolish when you're at that position in the sport. But I think he's doing a good job, so I don't think it's going to hurt him too badly. Where's your confidence level for the Cubs?
I like Jamison Tyone going on the mound. He's been good since he came back from injury, so I'm good with that. Yu Darvish is really old, has not been good this year.
It's just a lot of pressure.
Hadn't been good last year either.
It's a lot of pressure that I believe the Cubs are operating under when they feel like they have to score in the first 5 innings.
Yeah,
and that's what the Padres do because their bullpen is so ridiculous.
You really think they go to Mason Miller?
Oh, I'm 100% sure if they've got a 1-run lead, he's going to pitch. 100%.
How many pitches did he throw yesterday?
He's thrown 42 over the last 2 days. I think yesterday was like 27 or 20 or like 31.
Yeah, they probably would go to.
I mean, they're not going to have their season end
without
with him sitting on the bench.
Yeah, they can't.
It's just not. It's not a deal where he's thrown 214 in a regional and then they're bringing him back. Like that's where college baseball gets out of control. If they need Mason Miller to come out, I mean, he gets through innings in 13 pitches with 3 strikeouts. It's like it's a joke how efficient he is. If he just throws it over the plate, they can't hit it. So, you're going to see him. The closer has only pitched in 1 day. He didn't pitch the first game, so he's going to pitch as well. Like, you're just not – you can score off the closer. Miller is a non-discussion. The question is, can they score 3 runs off Yu Darvish before Schultz goes to the bullpen?
Well –
or can they get to the bullpen –
they need
in like
to do
the
it.
3rd inning.
That's what they
so
need
they
to
have
do.
to pitch all these innings.
I was going to say, if they can get him out of there fast and get it before the 4th or 5th, and then they have a chance, I think.
Cubs bullpen is in pretty good shape. Keller can give you a lot. You can also go to Palencia for a lot today. Thielbar can go again today. Pomeranz is ready to go today, former Ole Miss ace. So we'll see. I'm out tomorrow. Taylor Sharp will be in. I'm with the Myers man, day 1 of recovery. So I'm back Monday, bye weekend for LSU. Who'll get you ready for the Saints. Matt's going to drive you home next on AFR. Let's go, Cubs.
The Hunt Palmer Show.